Welcome to the podcast. Today we're talking with my friend and artist, Cynthia Ramu, and we are going to be talking about a multitude of different subjects today. How are you doing today, Cynthia?
I'm awesome. I'm vertical.
You're vertical.
Better than being horizontal.
Yes.
Let's start off by giving our listeners some background of where I want some history. And for my listeners also, Cynthia is one of the Corn Mothers featured in the newest book, the project that we've been working on, myself and my friend Renee Fajardo. So Cynthia is well respected in the Pueblo community, that's where we are at today, down in Pueblo, Colorado. And Cynthia, give us a little background history about how you grew up and what made you want to become an artist or be involved in the arts, like kind of some background of you growing up and then through your pivotal years.
I was about 3 years old and I was drawing all the time. You know, I remember just like following nature and noticing the way the sunlight, hit things in color. And I realized that somehow I was sketching a lot. My dad actually found a picture I drew of him and he got enraged because he's like, I don't look like that. And I'm like, well, give it back. And my dad took off with my drawing. And so, but at the same time, I've always felt like an explorer. As I got a little bit older, I'm the one that got in trouble doodling and drawing and ignoring the teacher. And when it came to a book, I wouldn't pick up a book unless it had pictures in it. Over time, I had a little bit of a learning disability as far as reading.
Okay.
I could read beautifully, but I didn't comprehend what I read. And no one really assessed it. And so as time went on a little bit, let me go back. My father was in the Air Force. And when I was a little kid, about 4, he got stationed in Germany. And I'm part German. And so we immediately all got into a big ship and took my little brother. And we watched Walt Disney movies all day long to distract us from the ocean being horrible. We finally made it to Germany, and my dad made sure he put us in a village of German people that did not speak English, and the children that were my friends didn't speak English. So I figured out German pretty fast, but visually it was an amazing experience. I guess I must have been 5 because I went to a nunnery for kindergarten on the cobblestones.
Wow. And
behind my house in the spring was this giant circus that came every year. And so what was really cool was watching out the door, them bringing all the stuff in and creating this crazy, crazy adventure every day of sounds and smells. The first year, the best part was when they left. So me and all my friends, we would scavenge all the stuff that was left over from the carnival. There were balloons, there were toys, there were all kinds of little things, and it became our playground.
Right.
Until the winter came, and winter in Germany is pretty vicious. And so, I felt like a video camera as a kid. I was constantly scanning for visual things. We rode our bicycles with someone on the back all the time. We'd go through these big black forests where you had to have a headlamp or a thing on your bike to go through, and we pick berries. And I keep looking back at that and I'm like, wow, what a great book to illustrate as a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and my dad was known as a car racer and a motorcycle racer. So I went to school in a sidecar for first grade, second grade in Germany. So we get up before dark, before dusk, slam us in the sidecar, cover us up because we didn't have to see what was going to go on. And, it was just this visual crazy thing. that just really inspired me to like always be looking and exploring. And as I went on in like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade on up, I was the one everyone wanted to do their artwork because they, I was the artist. Somebody tagged me the artist. And I remember in my family, what was it? We always had to stick around. I was the oldest. I had to take care of everybody. But somebody gave me a dollhouse when I was about 9 or 10, and it had nothing in it. So my challenge was to start making things to go in it. So I knew how to sew. I knew how to fabricate things. And I just go to my room, put on my little turntable with all my 45s, and I go to town filling up my own little house. So, in high school, I was the artist, but my mother told me I could never take an art class. Because
she didn't want you taking an art class.
No, artists have no future. I only had one art class in 7th grade, and I loved it. But my mother was like, no, you need to learn how to type. You need to learn how to blah, 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 So, of course, I'm on student council the first year in high school. I'm on student council every year. I was vice president. Ran the dances, designed all the decorations for all the parties and everything. So I'm thinking, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to be an artist. I started college about 4 days after I graduated from high school, and I paid my own way.
Wow.
When I got there, I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And we have nude models. And I was in an art department. It was San Antonio Community College, which became part of University of Texas, but just a segment. And they were transitioning there from an art department to a graphic art department. Like a week after I started, we had a brand new professor who came from the University of Texas, who was a rebel. And he came from owning his own aeronautic publication. So he almost got kicked out of University of Texas because he made his living in college making fake parking permits. Anyway, it was like, yeah, I had the right guy, as my mentor. And what was really crazy is he got me my first commission as a freshman. I didn't get how important that was. I was learning photography, and I was learning illustration, and I got a commission for the president of the college to, there was a Pearl Brewery that used to be in Texas. There was a mansion behind there, and Pearl donated it to the college. It was this beautiful Victorian. So I was out taking all kinds of great shots. So he's like, we need a Christmas card for the college. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll try. So I did it, and I had up on the peak, I had Santa Claus, his sled took off and he's hanging on a pole, and they loved it. And so I got paid $40, and then, I finished, I failed. I got kicked out of school.
But that was a good experience in itself, wasn't it?
It was
a learning experience.
It was a great learning experience, and I realized that I lacked being coherent, that I did have a talent, and that someone believed in me.
Right.
It was really great, and it inspired me to be a photographer. And I remember always having my Brownie camera as a little kid, but I never had anyone to kind of direct me a little bit. So in turn, I've been teaching photography down to 2nd grade.
Wow.
For all these years. And I blow up my phone every day because I take pictures all the time.
Right.
But I love pottery. I love everything. I love just sewing. I love being able to, do whatever inspires me in the moment. So that's why this place is all full of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to inspire kids like I didn't get from an adult. Come to find out, my grandmother was a painter. I didn't know that. My grandmother was a potter in the 1920s. She came from a series of potters, quilters.
Oh, wow.
And, of course, my grandmother was my inspiration. And she was pretty blown away when I was in college because I would send her artwork. And she just was so excited. Of course, my grandma was a Bob Ross student. And so it was really cool to be on the journey where it wasn't like obvious that my grandmother was this.
So what do you think, why do you think your mother kind of, was it just being pragmatic? Like, was it simply that, or why do you think she kind of pushed against your artistic ability?
I think because my mother grew up on the streets of Philadelphia with an Irish mom who was, she came over on the boat with a suitcase full of fabrics, and she was a seamstress.
Okay.
And my mother, when my mom grew up, the only clothes she had, actually, was her Catholic school uniform. My father actually met my mom at 15, and my grandmother kind of adopted my mom.
Okay.
And helped save her life. My mother would come home to her mother passed out with her head in the oven. Or my father would buy my mother really nice clothes, and my grandparents would, and she'd come home and my uncles stole them and sold them.
Wow.
So eventually my grandmother took on my mom.
Right.
Kind of showed my mom the way, and my mom was a pretty groovy person. My parents danced on bandstand at 15, 16, 17. They worked in, I think, Wildwood, New Jersey, on one place. And then they'd go to Atlantic City and dance on Saturday night on Steel Pier. Yeah, again, I really think I was on bandstand because I kind of calculated, this is really weird. When I keep going home, I keep collecting all the pictures that people have, or I've been snapshotting them. And the last time I was home this summer, I came across this folder that said, my dad's name is Harry's 19th birthday. So I'm like looking at it, and my mom's looking all hot, like Miss Maisel. My dad's like Elvis, because my parents were, they were really, I thought, really beautiful people.
Right.
And of course, my dad thought he was more beautiful than he was, but at the same time, too, my parents were cool. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm looking at the date of my dad's birthday, and I'm thinking, I was conceived probably on my father's birthday. And I'm like, ew, how creepy is that? But then when I went home, I mentioned it to my sister, and I'm like, okay, we could sit here and calculate when we were conceived. And she's like, no way. And so, yeah, it was always an adventure,
right?
But was always on the edge just a little bit. But I realized recently, too, that I went into my room and I just created my world.
Right.
As much as I could. And then when I left the house, I went out and I created my world. And I was never scared. I was never, I was just always on my adventure.
Right.
And I think it was that other, when you're a kid and you are around a lot of bad stuff, you just kind of roll with it. Mm-hmm. You find your place. But I think visually I've been stimulated since a child. I used to wake up in the middle of the night and notice the moonlight. We lived in a cabin when I was a kid, and the moonlight we lived in a forest in a cabin, and the moonlight would come through my window, and just like I'd watch it for hours moving across the floor. And one night I thought, I'll bet I can just jump right into that and sleep in the moonlight all night long.
Right.
So anyway, I just feel like I'm on a visual journey to this very day. I still feel like that little kid, but I feel inspired, and I'm not afraid of many things. And if I get an idea, I'm going to go after it. Or if someone inspires me, I'm willing to, let's go do it.
Right.
Let's go make it happen. Mm-hmm. Let's go learn from it. Let's make some mistakes. Don't be afraid. And that's been my philosophy.
Yeah, you're definitely a go-getter. I knew that from the moment I met you. But and that you're fearless, you can just, I see that in you, and I admire that in a person. I don't think, it's a special trait that certain people have. And I think it's spectacular. My wife has that thing. I don't always have that thing, but I see people that do have it that are just fearless. My daughter has it. I think it's very inspiring. I'm like, man, people that have that, they just jump in with both feet. Mm-hmm. Spectacular.
Yeah. And I think when I think back in my childhood, especially my formative years in school, my perception is I didn't have very many people pushing me, like, to do certain things, or, hey, you should try this. And it just never, so I don't know. I'm kind of like you, although obviously I do a lot of things, but the drive that some people have and the fearlessness, I don't think I have. I mean, I have a little bit of it, but I wish I had more. Maybe I just put it that way. So
yeah, I don't know where I got it from, but I just, it's funny retracing, like, what the heck?
right.
But at the same time too, I think, I'm a short person. I was picked on all the time, by big boys or big girls. And from the beginning. And it's kind of like, yeah, well, bring it on. But at the same time too, it's like, we can do anything. We really can. And I think inspiring kids that you can do anything. Don't let that little thing get in your way. It's just a speed bump. Walk over it and keep going. So there you go. But, I do have my fears, and I usually will go to my corner and think and come up with a strategy if something triggers me, like, I'm afraid of that, and how to get around it. And so it's great. It's great to have that adventure every day.
Right.
So how did you end up in Colorado? What was the catalyst there? How did that transpire? And I know that you also got education here as well, in Colorado. So tell us a little bit about that.
When I was about 23, what was it? I was going to move away from Texas, and my father was like, you can't go unless you get married. And of course, I'm going with my old boyfriend who's in the military to Montana. And somehow my father persuaded me that was what I needed to do. In the long run, it probably wasn't the right thing, but it was the thing that I did.
Right.
And I have 2 great sons. I moved to Great Falls, Montana, and our car froze to the ground for 2 weeks. I watched the snow blow. I learned how to play poker. I learned how to sew by hand. I learned just to watch the snow and, just kind of live in solitude, which I'd never had before. Always had something. And then we moved to the Air Force Academy. I really fell in love with Colorado. I almost moved to Angel Fire, New Mexico, with a whole group of friends before that. That was my breakaway, because I thought, well, when you're about 19, you should just leave and go and explore. 40 years later, I look back, I'm the only one that left. All my siblings stayed close to home within 10, 15 miles. But I really feel so grateful that I've got this kind of global 360 perspective, because I've met so many people and been in so many different environments. So I lived at the Air Force Academy, lived in the Springs. Most of my friends were musicians and artists. I really, really, really wanted to go back to school. So I did go to Pikes Peak Community College for graphic design. I learned how to work. I worked with a pressman. And then I decided to save up all my money and go to Denver and go to the Art Institute. Was accepted and did graphic design. Of course, I got really into it with theater, artists, musicians, art galleries. I worked in the best restaurants in Denver. So I had this scene that I got into. So when I graduated from school, I did a few things as a graphic designer, but it was all not making enough money. I started promoting artists. I ended up on the cover of the Denver Business Journal, because where I worked, the Business Journal was upstairs. So I would hang out with all the writers. And so this guy's like, I got to do a story about you. And I'm like, I don't do nothing. And he goes, yeah, you do. That just like triggered. I met a producer at the Denver Center Theater who had Stage West, Rick Sieber, and he took me to all the shows. And then my roommate was a photographer that went to the Art Institute. Her husband was a musician. And I kept just like, in conversations going, I bet I could get you a gig over at Sophie Smith's. And they're like, that'd be cool. And so next thing I know, I'm a booking agent. And during the day, I'm helping run a gallery. And the Business Journal thing, like, just got that going, where I had another gallery in Wash Park come and hire me to help promote her business. And so we did a giant fundraiser in Wash Park. that became a tradition after. We did that for 2 years, bringing in performance artists, wine tasting when wine was just starting to kick in Colorado because there weren't that many vineyards. So it was like, whoa, possibilities are endless. I really realized, I kept riding that pony for a while. I had like 15 bands. All my friends were like all over the place. And I'm like thinking, no, I need to do something for me.
Right.
So it was the levee. A couple of my friends that were down here that were artists came to Denver and said, go to the news gallery. There's this cool opening on our murals on the levee. And I'm like, what's the levee? And they're like, they're taking the show down. Come and see it. So I went in, saw the pieces, and I'm like, ooh, I could do that. And then I'm like, oh, I'm afraid of heights. Well, I could do that.
So before you go any further,
Mm-hmm.
give our listeners, because you just mentioned the levee, and this is going to play a big part of this interview at some point, but give us like historical background as far as what that is here in Pueblo.
In Pueblo, there's a levee wall that runs along the Arkansas River that was constructed in the 1920s after a major flood. And they had floods off and on before that year, but this one year, I believe it was 1920, Pueblo was 25 feet underwater because like where I live right now, I live up on a hill. But below me, that's all a major floodplain. And so they had sirens that would go off because they would have, we get rain that comes down here so fast that the ground can't absorb it. That year, this levee was not here, but the water just kind of trickled here, but it went through town because that's what powered downtown. And the water was being diverted to the mill, and it was being diverted out to the farmers because we have a big farming community, and it was pretty big back then too. So they had to build a levee wall before they even had a dam. And the wall was roughly about 65 feet tall, 45-degree angle, and so they had to go in and dig that out. And do it pretty fast in case the flood came again. So, what was it? This rough concrete wall that's almost 3 miles long is sitting out there since the 20s. And so over time, somebody go, well, let's go tag or let's go write something. So there were pieces that were out there that probably evolved more like in the 50s, maybe the 40s. And then about the late 60s started getting more active, but it was little pieces. Because when you look at the levee and you're on the other side, put your thumb out, that's like 10 feet wide. It's pretty small. Anyway, I knew these artists that were trying to get a lot of murals out here. And there was the very first group that helped get it to be legal to paint out there, which were the Teehee artists, about 1978. Dave Roberts, an artist that was in the Springs, and he was a subcontractor. He's like, I could get all this paint. So he started the major paint recycling in the state. So he would just show up with this big old truck full of paint, invite people to come and paint on the wall. It was all for free. It was all for fun.
Oh, wow.
Of course, I was trying to get down here for about 5 years to paint on the wall. And the first time I came down here, it was from the top of the wall. We walked the train tracks. We just parked on the tracks because there were no trains there. About 1985, 86. It was like tumbleweeds. It was desolate. No one's going to bust you. We came up and I looked down that wall and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? So I went back to Denver and I dreamed about what I was going to do, and I couldn't wait for these guys to call me up and let me know. So after a couple years, I'm like, you guys, when are you painting? And they're like, oh, we're going to paint in May. And I said, well, give me the date and I'll bring you free paint. And they're like, right on. So I went to paint stores in Denver, loaded my car up. These guys used to paint with enamel paint too. I had the sweetest automotive paint from Boulder. So I got myself in. So I came down and helped them. First piece I painted on off of I-25, we're using silver automotive paint. And it's my first time on the wall. And my instructions were, don't go towards the water because you'll fall in because there's no tooth. And hold on to the rope and just keep working. And I'm out there and I'm like, I'm all by myself. I felt like I got set up. So I'm out there and there's a guy next to me painting, this really tall guy, which was my neighbor. He was out there. And then there was a biker next to me painting some abstract thing. And the water was rushing. It's in May. It's flood season. I'm like facing the water like this on my butt, ripping my pants, and working with my silver paint. And I thought, oh, if I could just go to the bottom. And of course, we know oil, water, enamel, water don't work. My fingers were all glued together. So I'm trying just to get a little water, see if I can separate my fingers, because like the brush stuck to my hand. Next thing I know, I went bam, right into the water, all the way down, face first, slime, everything. And when I came back up, I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? And these two didn't see me. In the water.
They had no idea.
No. And I could hear my nails. I'm like clawing on the wall, trying to get something, and I found a hole. There was a hole in the wall, and I stuck my thumb in it. And I was just with my head bobbing. So these two are looking at each other, and I'm like, help, help. And they're like, where'd you go? And then they're looking down. You're soaking wet. You can't walk out of this. They got to drag you on your face.
Oh, no.
So they dragged me all the way up. And I thought, I will never do that again. And so I told that story over the years to my students or people painting, and it was like, nobody ever fell in. And,
So that thought didn't deter you from painting on the wall, but you thought to yourself, I will never, ever let that happen again.
Yeah. And actually, I continued painting. I continued painting not facing the wall. And it really took forever. So I got faster and faster, but I'm out there working, and this guy is up on the bridge. People would come out and watch me paint off the 4th Street Bridge. And this one guy goes, hey, have you ever thought about turning around? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, why don't you face the wall? You'll go a lot faster. And I'm like, but I'm afraid of heights. And he's like, turn around. It'll be okay. So I turned around, and I'm like, oh. And I kicked it out. So, and I got faster, and I got faster, and I got faster. And I figured out my system, but I had no one telling me what to do or guiding me. I just figured it out. And then I finally got a grant to do a 120-foot long mural on the levee. And I was painting over an artist that was a professor at the university's work. But he gave me the approval. But we painted it white, which is horrible. I didn't realize that. I thought, yeah, we got to primer this whole thing. And so I got these guys to do it for me. When I went out there, it was like killing me. It was just like burning my eyes. And, but, it was, and it was like, I better paint fast. I figured it out, and I figured out my mathematical calculations. Of course, I was really bad in math, but I figured it out.
You did it.
I did it. I figured it out. I got it done. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And I thought, God, that would be great to teach more people how to do this and just, keep moving forward. And I'm like saying to these guys, this should be in the Guinness World Book of Records. And I'm like, have you measured it? And they're like, nah, we don't care. I'm like, what's the name of this? It's the levee. And I'm like, pfft. So I came up with a name. I should have copywritten it, but that's one of those lessons.
Right. That you think of later, like, oh, I should have.
Yeah, I should have, could have, would have, but,
So what'd you call it?
I called it the Pueblo Levee Mural Project.
Okay.
And my son was in high school, and he was in printmaking. So he printed my letterhead and all my cards for me, which was really great. I'm like letting Pueblo know, hey, you want to help me do this? Let's get the record. Let's get it going. So an artist from Denver that I had met before I came down here, Jerry De La Cruz.
Yeah. Okay.
My buddy. He'd moved down here. He had acquired a radio station here. I think it was his father's or someone in his family. So him and Diana came down here, and we became pretty good friends. I believe she was a lawyer or an accountant. I think she was both. And I said, we're working on the record. And he's like, I'll help you. So he's out there doing pieces. We're recruiting people to connect them. We went out and did a rough run of measurement. It took 2 times to submit, and then we broke the record in 1995.
And what's the record length?
What ours was?
Yeah.
Ours was 177,000 square feet.
Wow. That's crazy.
It was. And
that's a lot of space.
That is a lot of space.
And we could have broke our record.
Right.
We could have broken our own record. But we had all kinds of things that got in our way. They reconstructed a bridge, and we had access from the bridge in the first place. CDOT didn't include the staircase, so we couldn't get out there. And we couldn't go through the railroad because Homeland Security took over railroad areas.
Oh.
And so, I mean, I just call the guy in the tower and the train tracks, and I'd say, hey, is 10 o'clock a good day tomorrow or whatever? And he'd go, yeah, let us know. We'll give you the okay. And I just pull my car up to the back of the wall and go up. Or before that, I did jump a few trains.
I bet that was exciting.
Well, it got real exciting one day because there was a flatbed for a train, and I worked at a restaurant up the street, and I thought, I bet I could get about 4 hours in the morning, like go 6 o'clock. So I have my backpack with my waitress clothes, and I'm out there painting, and I'm like, oh, gee, I got to get to work in about an hour. So the train tracks got packed. There were cars in there like crazy. So I had to like roll across a few. So the second one I rolled across, all of a sudden it went banged.
It did that motion.
It did that motion, and I'm like, I better get the heck off of here. And so I like waited for a minute because it pushed it back. And so all of a sudden it took off, and I realized I'm probably going to Kansas, and I was afraid.
Yeah.
Because I was up a little high. I mean, if I had been, where you walk up, but I had kind of gotten up on the flat. So train takes off. I'm waiting for it to slow down because I'm holding on. And then finally it went to a turn or something where it just kind of like slow. And I like, okay, roll off. I ran back to town. I ran to the restaurant, and they're like, where were you? And I'm like, I was on a train.
I was on my way to Kansas
City. I can almost guarantee that they'd never heard that excuse before, right?
Yeah. Well, and they were like, you're painting that levee again, right? And I'm like, of course. So, there were endless adventures out there. I only had one time where it was dangerous. I used to have guys that would ride the trains, these 3 guys, and they always came with a dog. And they came like once a month, like middle of the month. And they would hang out along the wall, and they're like, we're here to protect you. And we want to hang out with you. And I'm like, cool. So I went out there, and I'm finishing up my mural, and I have a thing called multiple chemical sensitivity. And it's from driving around with paint in my car. Probably all the times I fell asleep developing film chemicals.
Right.
So I can't handle spray paint, because 90% of what you're spraying is going back in your face. So I thought, I'm going to make this look cool at the end. And I bought about 5 cans of spray paint just to tweak the stacks on my mural, because my opening was like 2 weeks later. And I had gone home, and I had where I hid. We used to hide the paint in all of the shrubs and all the weeds and stuff. So I came back out, and I looked across the river, and there's this thing moving around back there, And so I went out, and I had to like hike a long way from the 4th Street Bridge, and there was a guy out there. He was huffing my paint.
Oh, jeez.
And so he had like a can, like a dog food can, and he'd spray it, and then he was huffing it. So when I got out there, he kind of was gone, right? And he left my cans laying around. So I thought, well, I'll just continue. I don't see this guy anywhere. I'm on the wall. I got my rope, and I see something bobbing around. The guy's back up there. I started freaking out. So all of a sudden, 3 guys come up the back of the wall because they heard me yelling, and took this guy down and drug him away. Wow. Because they're always watching me from the tower. They knew it was me and where I was at. And it took 3 big guys to take this guy. And I'm like, he probably just was high, and he just was innocent, whatever.
Right, just being weird in his own little
and
high.
But he didn't look too healthy, and he looked pretty scary. And that's the worst. Except for one day I had kids walking by that were picking up glass bottles and throwing them over the wall.
Not knowing that you were there?
They didn't know I was there. And so I slipped and chipped my elbows really bad, because when I tried to move, I stepped in my own paint, had the rope, bam. So chipped elbows, chipped knees.
Probably a lot of scrapes and bruises over the years.
Definitely, or probably skin cancer.
So how many years did you actually work on it? Like you started in, what year was it that you started painting it?
I did my first piece out there about 1988.
Okay.
I helped renovate, off and on. In 1990, 92, I got a grant with Colorado Council for the Arts, and I did a historic picture of the CFNI.
Right.
And then probably a good 6 or 7 years. So wrote another couple of grants. And then we just went out there and renovated, and we kept trying to keep it filled in.
Right.
So off and on. I probably have done about 30, with different groups or memorials or renovating artists that were historic artists in Pueblo to try and keep their art alive.
Then there becomes some controversy with the levee.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that.
Well, what happened was that FEMA came in and they were approving different floodplains in different areas, especially when there were washouts from after fires, like in Manitou. I think in Boulder, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and so that really brought it up on the radar. And after Rita and Katrina and all of that, evidently they were coming in and looking at different communities like that. So they were looking at our levee because some of the slabs were slipping. They were talking about the load being too much. Mm-hmm. Because when they did the wall back in the 20s, think about the concrete quality and then the actual, 100-year flood thing, because we'll be there this next year, in 2021. So they were inspecting and they were going to do some repairs. And, I've worked with the local water conservancy district, or it's Pueblo Conservancy District, for about 30 years. Because initially, when it became legal to paint out there, it was legal only if you had a permit.
So there was a whole permit process that people had to go through.
Right. And so Dave Roberts came up with where he would be the agent. He got the permit. And so the Conservancy never actually saw the artwork unless somebody bypassed Dave and went to the Conservancy. Then they would approve them. When Dave kind of moved on doing more recycling about 93, he's like, you want to run this levee? It looks like you know what you're doing. And I'm like, cool, I'll do that. So you take over the permit process. So I worked with the Conservancy District doing that. So I was the agent, and they trusted me. And when anything was a little bit provocative or, negative, I could usually sway somebody. And then there were still a bunch of people who just go out and do whatever they wanted to do. And there were quite a few. And it's like, I wasn't the police of the levee either. But, I was able to help people go out there and be safe, get them to sign off. And there was a lot of spontaneous great things that happened. Again, we got limited access out there probably about 10 years ago.
Okay.
It was really hard to be able to get out there, and it was an undiscussed thing because I was told that they were going to give us access. About 5 years ago, they're bringing me in and saying, hey, we're going to have to work on the levee. So if you're going to be painting out there, we just want to let you know about these areas. They're going to be off limits. Or if we're going to work on them, that you don't want to waste your time painting unless you want to paint. And we tear them out and you can paint them again. So we had this kind of cool little conversation going on. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, we're probably going to take the top 20, 15 feet off the wall because the load's too heavy, because that's what's causing it to slip. Then all of a sudden about 3 years ago, I have a camera crew call me up and ask me if I'd like to come out and talk about the levee. And I'm on camera and she goes, so how do you feel about them tearing the whole thing out? And I'm like, what? I wasn't told that.
Yeah.
So, being in shock, it's like, you can't really do that. It's of all the things in the world, I never thought they would do that. The bummer is that none of that was put on the local historic registry. And with some hindsight, it could have been done.
Yeah.
And then there would be some type of negotiation, I would think, so they started tearing it out, and I believe they're at phase 6 right now. I went out the first couple weeks. Actually, I just was sick from school. I couldn't be at school. I was so sick. I had to sit by the river and watch them and video it and say goodbye, because a lot of that artwork, really, it was the spirit. As it went along, there was one piece that was really, 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 I'd done the corn maiden for a local artist as she was dying. I didn't know she was dying at the time, but we were talking one day and she's like, man, I always wanted to be on that levee. I always wanted to do that, but now I just can't. because she had Parkinson's.
Oh, wow.
And what was it? So I'm like, hey, cool. Show me what you want to put out there, and I'll be glad to do it for you. We negotiated back and forth, and finally it was the Corn Maiden that meant the most to her. So I actually got to visit her, over the week before she passed, and it was like about now. So I just got on my wool sweater and went out there, and I just popped it out there while the snow was coming down. And it brought a lot of artists together. And so as we're going along, it's like, man, we should put her ashes in there. So we went ahead and put her ashes in the chakras. We made it a sacred place. We would have drummings on her birthday, and we were trying to create a park for her. And so over time, every 5 years, I would go out and touch it up and invite people to help me touch it up. And then I realized 2 years ago, it's been 3 years, my neighbor, who was a friend of hers, she's like, they're going to behead her. And I'm like, oh, that's right, they are. What are we going to do? That's sacrilegious. You can't do that. So I publicly was kind of spitting and yelling about it. What can we do? You've got to save something.
Right.
We should have saved more.
Mm-hmm.
So the contractor halted construction on Friday. It was Good Friday. And then would decide on Monday what they were going to do. And it was spring break, thank goodness. So we had everyone out there dancing and drumming, and we had all these cars pulling up and people sitting around watching. And I'm so happy I went out there a couple days before because I had a macro lens and got these beautiful shots of the Corn Maiden before. And so they had to take diamond blades to pull off the piece. And it was an experiment. Unfortunately, in hindsight, I realized that they pretty much sandblasted the surface, and wore it down a lot, but that could be fixed.
Yeah.
But, I end up hearing that as they were hoisting it off of there, that the guys working on the wall, they swore they saw spirits come out.
Is that right?
Yeah. And that's secondhand information from a friend of mine that was in a restaurant and overheard the conversation. I mean, it was a sacred place.
Right.
We did save the piece. It cost about $25,000.
Wow.
It's a lot of money.
It is.
Just for that piece.
So where did it end up at?
It's over at the next bridge over here sitting,
Okay. Oh,
but it's on the ground. So I'm currently trying to work with an engineer to fabricate a final, almost like a frame off the ground. He's estimated at $50,000.
Wow.
But he's got a laser cutter. He can cut the history in the back of the metal, and then we can encase the piece and protect it, and then probably put a little park area and landscape it and plant it. That's a whole other thing. So in the meantime, as they were tearing out the wall, it's like, we're not sure we want to have artwork out there. We're not sure we need artwork out there, And so it was the pro and the con and the back and the forth. Anyway, so this last week, they just finished demoing the last part of the Levee art. But at the same time, I've been pretty dedicated to making sure there is a process for art to go back on the wall.
Mm-hmm. So they just cut the top part off, or did they tear out the whole levee?
They tore out the whole levee.
They tore out the whole levee.
Yeah, they took it down because it was too high.
Right.
And what they did is, when you'd walk up there, the path was probably only about 10 feet wide. I think it's 40 feet wide now.
Wow.
But the way they made the gravel for that road was grinding up the murals. And so...
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, at one point I thought, couldn't we save about 500 pieces of that rock and sell them to people?
Right.
Yeah.
Just so that, and there might even be a pile of that rock right now. The good news is that the contractor, his niece is one of my yoga instructors. So she's the one who called him and let him know about saving the piece. So that's how we got into that.
Okay.
Which was great.
Right.
But
it's such a close-knit community down here.
Oh, it is. It is. It is. And people are passionate about it. That represents the heart of Pueblo. We want to make sure that that's what continues. I mean, we want to make sure it's beautiful. People are proud of it. And we're in a sticky spot right now where the Conservancy District is in charge of the maintenance of the wall, and they're the managers and the gatekeepers. And then we've got a team of artists to help advise and guide artists on the process with some very vigorous guidelines that kind of stifle what the spirit of the wall has been over the years in the art. It's a dilemma.
Right.
And how to negotiate through that without it being a fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got some pretty creative artists with me that I've known for a long time, and gallery owners that are working on just like getting more unity throughout the state of other organizations that do approval processes like this. Because as artists, we should be able to make a recommendation and hopefully have the conservancy itself, trust us on it. So because they're engineers, they're there for a different reason.
Right.
So we're in a pickle.
But you kind of have, the wheels are moving. There's kind of there's an at least idea in place to make this all happen again. And you are heading this up because you're kind of the matriarch of the levee, right? When it comes down to it. You have such a history with it. You've documented it.
Yeah.
You know all the artists that participated in it prior, and now you're the go-to person as far as kind of heading this up. And I know you have mixed emotions about it.
Well, and it's a balancing act, and I knew it just came faster than I thought, but not fast enough too. Where it's like we'll have to find some common ground. I have so many artists that contact me all the time and send me designs, and then I give them feedback or offer up. They're like, I'm afraid of heights. And I'm like, so was I. No problem. Right. I don't have enough money. No problem. I got rock climbers that are going to have ropes for us where we can rent them for $10. We're going to set up safety days where we show people how to walk around out there. So we're there for the artists. We are there to make it happen. If someone gets denied, all they got to do is try and tweak it.
Right. And reapply.
And
resubmit it. Or we're trying to have a process for people who are denied, how to have a review. But that's a lot of work. Keep encouraging people. If you don't get accepted the first time, we'll give you feedback. Come back the second time. And we review applications the middle of every month. I just realized we just met the first artist 2 days ago. We're going to be meeting and reviewing applications in another week and a half.
Wow.
And so it's open-ended. So it's ongoing, and it's going to be evolving and changing at the same time, and trying to find funding and trying to build resources and get people excited.
So I want to ask a question. Let's say there's another community that has a levee or some big space that they want to paint. Since you've been through this process, what's the steps to get something that's, I guess, approved by the community or supported by the community?
Well, I've actually worked in other communities. I've gone to Canyon City. Canyon City came to me about 13 years ago, and they actually, it was back when Hillary Clinton was running Build a Generation. And I was working with a DA, and the DA wanted to get a mural put up with community engagement and working with teenagers. And so because they felt like the teens always felt like they're always in trouble and they're on the out. So I went to the high schools, I went to the middle school, I met the library, I met merchants, and everyone shared their ideas. And I had artists come out. And so we took all of the ideas, and then I kind of helped morph it into one big visual. So it's on the alternative high school in Canyon City. So we invited all the kids, any of the merchants, the art teachers all came out, and bam, we put this piece on the wall. So about 2 years later, I got called again, and it was like, we want to do a big one. We want the history of Canyon City. So again, I met with the library, I met with the DA's office, I met with all the schools and all the agencies. And we just kind of sat down and we did what's called River Station in Canyon City behind, it used to be the Dinosaur Depot.
Okay.
And so we started under this one bridge where it was like a little cave, and we had a fire and going way back to the cavemen. And then slowly, and so as I'm there, I have kids with me while we're digging up the history of Canyon City and finding photos and finding stories. And then everybody's coming up with sketches. So it's a matter of, like inclusion.
Right.
So everyone's got to buy in.
Did you apply for grants to get those projects going, or did you have funding from the city and community?
The city and the community, the DA's office paid for all the materials.
Did you get hired to do this, or did you volunteer to do this?
I was hired.
Oh, so you got paid to come in and...
I was hired on both times.
Good.
And I actually have a friend in the Springs that I worked with. He does a workout program where he worked with kids at risk. Mm-hmm. And work with the city. He did a lot of the major murals all over Colorado Springs. Oh. So I would go up there and work with him and his group. I brought them to Canyon City to help us finish our last wall in collaboration with the kids I was working with.
Right.
I actually had Cristo, who was in Canyon when he was meeting with Canyon City to talk about the Over the River project with his entourage from around the world. They walked through and met all my kids. Of course, they don't know who Cristo is.
Right. But we know who Cristo is.
We know who Cristo is.
And he was mentioned earlier in another podcast with Jerry Jaramillo.
Yeah, that's right.
So, it's only 6 degrees of separation.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
How close we really are.
It's really encouraging that you got paid to do that, because I think a lot of Tennessee for people is like, oh, you're an artist. We have this project. We want you to do it for free.
Right.
And that just gets in my craw when people want stuff for free, because
nothing's for free.
Right.
No,
right. And it's encouraging to hear that Canyon City stepped up and was willing to pay you to come in and advise and help. So
and that was because they knew what you had done here in Pueblo.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's funny, before you guys showed up here, I have an artist that's up the street, and what was it? We talked for 45 minutes, and he was saying how many times everybody wants him to donate a painting. Right. And I mean, this guy, he lives hand to mouth, and he's a really good painter, but he's always like finagle, they got to negotiate all the time. And it's like, it's a major loss for him to donate a painting to a major organization. And we were coming up with ideas, but our dilemma on the levee right now is, I've talked to a whole bunch of Denver artists that were so excited about coming down here and painting, and they're like, what's the stipend? And I'm like,
right, there is
you're on your own.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to buy the paint? And we're like, you're on your own. And they're like, why would we go there? And it's for the passion.
Right.
We got to find a middle of the road kind of solution to that.
Right.
Yeah. So, I've done plenty of things my whole life as I was a kid. Go talk to Cynthia, she'll do it. Over time, I really realized, I don't encourage my students to do it for free.
Right.
Why are we doing this for free too? And people have to pay $100 fee to apply.
Right.
And then they get $50 donated back to them. Nobody should be taking their money in the first place because they're donating time. They should be getting paid.
Yeah. So then you turn around and okay, one side of my mouth said they should be paid, and that the other one, it's like, well, it's for
who's going to pay for it?
Yeah, it's a community benefit. Does the community pay for it? That's where getting good grant writers is so important, and in the future of the National Endowment for the Arts and stuff, we need to protect that, because they've been under threat for years, of funding cuts or getting rid of it altogether, and I think it's on the chopping block again. Even small communities are looking at cutting funding for the arts. And I don't know if it's a trend, because then
I think it is a trend. I think when either there's a economic downturn or there's, they start running out of public funds to fund projects, art is always the first thing that gets cut, right?
But then Jay Jaramillo was saying how the communities around Denver, North Glen are very supportive in his view.
Absolutely. And part of that's probably the growth.
Right.
They see the benefit of it. But,
what if we were cultural facilities.
Yeah.
I was on an arts council when that was just starting, Metropolitan Arts Alliance, which was 6 counties. We had ballet dancers, we had opera singers, we had conductors. But, having that being part of the money the dollar, the tax. You need to support it because it helps beautification. It helps engage people and support the arts because artists to this very day, almost every job you need to be creative.
Right.
No matter,
you got to hustle for it.
Yeah.
And you have to hustle for it. And, always making sure that is taken care of. There are some artists I know that always know where to go to find funding. They know. They got that niche. And so in a small town like this, it has to change. So this might be the thing that pushes it over.
Right.
The one thing that I think, and we've talked to a lot of people that either have done murals or are currently doing murals, people are always looking for a big canvas to work on that like to do murals.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity, but there has to be buy-in from the artist, right? So there's the application process, but if you want to get paid to do this, then it's kind of the onus is on them kind of to like put it together, right?
And there are grants. And so, I'm actually seeing us probably coming up with an agency. We do have our Pueblo Arts Alliance. And, I had the Levee Project before, but that name is kind of the past. But coming up with a way where we can write grants and where we can even ask the community of Pueblo, give a few dollars and donate to this art project, and even have artists donate work. Oh, we're back to that. But for the artists, art for the artists.
Right.
Get some creative events going on where we could create a pool and maybe even match with a grant. One of my students that painted with me 25 years ago when she was 18, she was at Cooper Union. Her president offered $500 to like 4 people. I could be wrong on what that was, but to go around the country and go into a community and make a mark as an artist. She didn't qualify. And so she's like, I've got a place. It's in the Guinness World Book of Records. So I let her sleep here. I fed her. And he gave her $500, the president out of his own pocket.
Wow.
She now works for the cultural facilities in New York City.
That's incredible.
I know. And she came here for the first time after 22 years. And we took a picture of her with her mural. And her mural just went down last week. Oh, man. But she's doing great stuff in New York City. She's Filipino. She works with Filipino artists and musicians in New York City, besides in all kinds of stuff. So we've been sharing how we can connect those young people with us and bring them here and maybe get funding too.
Right.
That'd be pretty spectacular.
Or universities.
Yeah.
There's always artists in universities that are ready to, because that's what this was.
And for people that have never been to Pueblo, this place is pretty culturally diverse. I mean, you could reach out to the different communities in Pueblo and probably secure, maybe not a ton of money, but at least some funding towards projects, especially if the mural was, it had cultural significance for those folks. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways, like you said, you got to be creative and there's money to be had, but you have to be willing to do the work, and it's not just showing up with a bunch of paint and your materials and making it happen. There's some other stuff that has to get done.
And it's teaching people
this.
Also how
and
to
you
be
can do that because
resourceful.
you know how to do this stuff.
Yeah. So,
but now we need to figure out how you get paid in all this, right?
I know. Well,
I know. Consult.
Yeah, I should be. I've been consulting for free for quite a long time, but I think that there is some legislation that our representative from Pueblo is going to be submitting in Denver.
Oh, awesome.
Because there's a thing about our Pueblo Conservancy District. They're not allowed to spend a penny on art. I don't know if it says specifically,
right?
But Dania is going to propose this with another representative. I'm hoping I can go with them because we're talking millions and millions of dollars to tear this out and rebuild it. If there were money to help inspire and encourage murals to go back out there at a higher level too, local level. But so I'm hoping that that'll work, or I'm just going to come up with something.
Which is what you do.
Yeah. I've got alternative plans.
She's got the hustle.
She does have the hustle.
And isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Yeah, in case you hadn't figured it out as an artist, if you don't have hustle, it's hard. It's a hard gig. So get your hustle on.
Get your hustle on. Get resourceful. Don't be a victim. Just
don't be
stand
afraid.
up. Yeah, and don't be afraid. Just go do it.
The worst that can happen is people tell you no. Big deal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for
and
sure.
Eventually you become so immune to that it doesn't even matter anymore. You just keep plugging along.
It's like life is worth living and celebrating and being creative and inspiring and
having the freedom
exactly
that having an art life affords you. There's something to be said for that.
For sure. Yeah, I'm amazed how many people, when I walk in and I ask for paint, I get it for free.
Really?
Or I get it almost for free.
Right.
Or they want to offer somehow because they want to support. So I think if we make that, where everyone's able to do that, we can create more resources, and it's for the beauty of our town.
Well, and if you've ever spent any time in Pueblo, I mean, it's just a beautiful town in general, and it's well worth the trip, no matter where you're at. If you're passing through from another state, or if you live in the state of Colorado, if you haven't been to Pueblo, you're missing out big time.
Well, like when we drove here, Todd, you said, Pueblo for you has a vibe that, it's a special feeling when you come here in the southern Colorado area.
Absolutely.
And when you're driving along the interstate and you look over to the downtown district, it's a cool looking downtown. It's
it's historical. It's
yeah.
A lot of old buildings and architecture, and it just has that artist vibe. If you spend, you go walk around downtown, it's pretty spectacular.
I agree. Well, and it's one of the major vortexes in the world.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yes.
Talk about that.
There's like a magnetic vortex that, I push and pull. I don't know much about it, but I feel it.
Right.
I feel it
that's
when
fine. I didn't mean to set you up, but
no.
I'm just curious.
I feel it. When
yeah.
I start south out of the Springs, I just feel like, I don't know. I start becoming more peaceful and relaxed.
So
and
I have to say something. So when I was at school at Black Hill State, I was on the debate team, and our coach, who was a great professor, philosopher, we would come and debate down in Colorado Springs, and he would always get physically ill. But he had a negative response to Colorado Springs where like, and other people, go ahead.
The Native Americans, when I was at the Air Force Academy, that used to be like sacred place.
Okay.
And there's supposed to be like this like very bad vibe in Springs.
Isn't that funny?
You know?
But Charles Follett he would physically be ill. Like there was times when we'd go
I
debate.
love Colorado Springs.
Right. Yeah. And this is not a gig I'm talking. Believe me, I like this.
Slamming Colorado Springs.
Yeah. But he would like just hold up in the hotel room while we were debating, and then we would leave. But it was just the weirdest thing. So when you said odd. There's, these vortexes, who knows why there's that negative connection, but I'm sure for everybody that has a negative response like that, there's probably somebody that has these very positive responses to that kind of vibe or vortex or whatever. So it's just interesting. I'm sorry, just when you said that, it struck me.
No, I mean, I just live in a little bitty community, and I've lived in a variety of places. I just came back from Texas. I was so grateful to be home because I felt like I got pulled out of my bubble.
Right.
And,
so Pueblo in this vortex has a very visceral, positive impact on you.
Yes, very much so. Or, I live close to the river. I'm a water person.
Right.
When I had the opportunity to buy a home here, it was like, I can go and hear the river all night long. And on the other side of that river is the trains. And at first I thought, I'm not going to be able to deal with this. But I mean, right where I live, I can sit outside and I can watch the whole city from up here. It's like I'm up in a castle.
Right.
And I have my own little special place. And I can ride my bike anywhere I want to go. I can walk anywhere I want to go. I love it. My son's like, get rid of that house. We'll buy it. Make a new one. I'm like, I don't think so. I got a connection to old buildings. And I'm so grateful that I have the studio in such a historic location, because Pueblo is so rich in history.
Mm-hmm.
It really,
it's
really
an
is.
old city.
Oh yeah, there's so much history in this town.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and multicultural.
Mm-hmm.
People are flocking here from all over the country. Most people who live in little neighborhoods that they grew up in, they don't see that growth where people want to be here. People are excited to be here. They see and feel that vortex feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a very, very special place. Of course, we want to not let it grow too fast because we want to keep it. It's a secret.
Yeah. So everybody
Go to Denver.
Yeah.
So everybody who's listening to the podcast, do not talk about the vortex. It's our little secret. Just our little masses of here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love
just got
Pueblo.
weird.
Yeah.
I was gonna let you run with that one, so
Yeah.
I was just gonna let you dig
You
that
should
hole.
have probably stopped me like 5 minutes ago.
But it is. I feel that here, and
It's like a natural high,
yeah,
it is a natural high.
you know, really.
And there's a lot going on here, and the people that I've met down here are just, they're really wonderful. It's a special place for sure. And for our listeners, Cynthia has a very nice setup as far as she lives in she has 2 houses, both built in the same year of 1902. And she's got a house that she lives in, and then she's got a house next door where she has her studio set up and is able to have her creative space. So it's pretty wonderful, pretty nice setup. I'm envious.
I love it. I'm glad I was planning.
Yeah, I mean, you had the vision.
Yeah, like
hey, this is where this is going.
Buying next door too, but I mean, the great thing about Pueblo is I have a big dog, and so I can't really walk him in my neighborhood because he's so big. So it makes me go hike almost every other night.
Yeah,
and so I can be in 6 minutes. I can be at a lake.
Yeah,
right.
There's some wonderful recreational area around here.
Well, and the mountains are just not too far away.
I can be
either.
snowshoeing. Like I was invited to go snowshoeing today. Right up in Beulah, and Beulah is just really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the great thing is you can jump in your car in an hour and a half. I mean, I could be in a casino if I want to be, or I can be in Westcliff. I could be cross-country skiing, or I can be at the lake in 10 minutes and be in my kayak.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can ride the river trail below my house, and I can ride it all the way to the dam. Or I can ride it through the city. So, yeah, I got friends. We go riding late at night. I've got my bike all rigged up with lights all over it.
Oh, that's funny.
So, yeah, you get to play and be in nature and have fun. And, in a safe, beautiful place.
Right. And if you're an artist, there's a huge artist community here.
There is, and there's lots of possibility. And I see it expanding. We have some new little hubs in Pueblo that are just growing to become another part of the creative corridor. And, I was just with them yesterday, and they're trying to save a school, an old school, and like Ivy Wild in Colorado Springs. Do you know about Ivy Wild?
I do not.
It's an old school building that they turned into this cool, like, community center place where there's a restaurant, there's a theater, there's a performance space, there's galleries. I think there's condos.
Oh, wow.
And so the guy that started that and saved that building is talking to us here about saving a building here and making that another art hub. So, yeah, it's just endless. A meat packing plant, you can see right out my front door. In that whole area, that's called the Grove. That's the next happening arts community in Pueblo for sure, which is very, very historic.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Or even the Colorado Creative Corridor, and then the Pueblo Arts Alliance. Arts Alliance has 40 studios.
Wow.
In an old building that used to be a wallpaper company.
40,
and now it's
40 studios.
And so it's a collaborative.
Well, I believe it's 40 artists. It's probably
40 artists. Okay.
Yeah, in a building that was abandoned.
Wow. So it's a working collaborative kind of thing. You could go there and work. A co-working space.
Yeah. With a brand new gallery space going in.
Wow. That's crazy. Wasn't there a big, and maybe it's still here, I can remember like back in the day looking back on the back of government publications. It would say
yes.
Pueblo,
Yeah.
printed in Pueblo.
Yeah.
There's a huge print shop here, wasn't there?
Well, this is where you would send for copyrights.
Ah, okay.
And for all the government printed type of brochures and
Right.
whatnot too. Because I remember being in Montana and watching on TV, and if you wanted to copyright your whatever, because I helped my brother copyright a design of his, and they had to go to Pueblo.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that when I was a kid, like Pueblo, Colorado, and not thinking a whole lot of it, but I was just like, and then when I came down, when I lived in Denver, and my wife and I would come through on our way to Santa Fe, it would pop in my head, like, I think there was a big printing, and we worked in the printing industry, or I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I worked in a big wholesale print shop in Denver, and so it was kind of on top of my mind anyway.
Mind.
Yeah, anyway. So
like another option.
Right. Like, I could go to Pueblo and
Pueblo.
work at the big government print shop, which probably doesn't exist. I don't know. But anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just kind of cool.
It is kind of cool.
I don't know why.
Well, I think when we're talking about art communities and, getting progressive and, like I'm with the Pueblo Arts Alliance, and I just retired from teaching like a year and a half ago. And within 6 months, I was offered a position under a grant with the Colorado Health Foundation to go in and start working with teens in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Impact Youth Initiative. And it's really sweet because I can go there on Friday. We meet the kids at 1. And we create projects based on what they're interested in and how they would like to create change in the community. And it kind of helps them have a voice.
Right.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, it teaches them how things work and how things don't work.
Right.
And so I'm what's called an artist activator.
Oh, that's an interesting term.
It's a new term. And the great thing is a lot of the teens we work with are kids that go to alternative schools.
Mm-hmm.
We take them out to lunch every Friday. We make sure we're teaching them to buy local and support local restaurants. And our first project was where we built like a food box, and we put them around town and made them like an artist installation.
Oh, wow.
That's a spectacular concept.
And somebody stole one of our boxes.
That's not
Bring it
very nice.
back.
We
That's
saw
not
where they
nice.
drug it down the
Yeah.
street.
Oh, it's too bad.
Oh, my God. It's amazing.
Or we're adopting a plaza right central downtown. Like the lights are not really working that great, and there's a lot of loitering. So we went and power washed it. We're painting it. We're adopting it with the Pueblo Arts Alliance, and we're getting all the lighting put up. We're doing a whole corridor. There's 2 corridors down there that are different art corridors. We're joining them as together. So we're going to do a whole alley where we're going to get the lights up with all the merchants. We're going to create a neighborhood watch with the police department.
Wow.
We have a Legacy Bank willing to help work with us and the city, and just let kids be part of it and kids kind of drive with it.
Right.
So they can help make this area safe for them and for everybody else.
Yeah.
But use art. Art is our vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Being creative is our vehicle. Or this next Friday, I'm connecting my kids with 3 other artists where they're giving the artist a mission. And the mission is we want to create something that we can give away to people during the holidays. So we're going to have these little things we're going to abandon around town for people to take, hang them in trees, or have little installations on the ground, or put them on people's cars, just to give away, just because we want to share the love. And the kids are so inspired.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about possibility. And for these young kids, they go 16 to 19 years old, that anything is possible.
Right. Well, and I think the key there, at least from my perspective, is when you let the kids decide what they want to do, like how the approach they want to take, it makes a big difference, because then they have buy-in instead of a bunch of adults going in and say, here's what we want you to do.
Exactly.
let them pick and choose.
And especially kids that are in an alternative school.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them purpose, and they, like you said, they feel part of something. And again, it's not somebody just telling them what to do. It's them going through the whole process of choosing what to do and then implementing it. Because kids want to do stuff. You know, kids don't want to just sit in a classroom and just listen to somebody regurgitate information and then they're expected to, you know, regurgitate it back or whatever.
Right.
They want to, if you can engage them and have them do something hands-on. I was just having this conversation with another artist the other night, and, you know, her process of educating and teaching kids. And she's like, I don't do any of it for them. I let them choose what they want to do.
Right.
And she was like, that's the way you engage children. They want to help. They want to do stuff. You know, you think about a little kid, you know, as a parent, you want to help them. And sometimes they push back. They're like, I don't want you to help me. Like, I want to do this. They want the experience.
Yeah.
So if you provide them the experience, they will thrive.
Right.
Well, I know from being a teacher that 50% of the learning was me learning from them.
Right. Yeah.
And it took me a while to step back and just put all this stuff on the table and go, okay, what are you going to do with it? You know, and letting them kind of like work it out.
Right.
You know, let them make mistakes, let them discover. Because, I mean, it's amazing what even my own granddaughter, every time she comes over, she's like, can I go to the studio? Can I go back and can I just like work on that stuff? And it's like, oh, I used to take her to museums and we run all over town and we do all this. And it's like, she just loved being here. Or we play teacher and she's a teacher.
Right.
So kids need opportunities to be self-expressed and to learn from everything, whether it's a mistake or whatever. And we should be watching because they are going to lead the future. And the more confidence they have in the beginning, you know, especially at that teenage age, I can't wait to see what happens. So I'm very happy that I'm able to do this project.
I was just thinking, your granddaughter, what a cool space to come and just experiment, you know, to have that opportunity and have that kind of guidance from your grandmother.
Yeah. I mean, she's a smart little 8-year-old, you know, and opinionated, but she's always, when I see her, she's like, when are we going to go back and do that? Let's make bracelets, or can we just paint, or can we just do whatever? And it's like, I'm happy to have this space because I have friends that are like, I need a space to come and hang out and be away. And I'm like, come on over.
Right.
Yeah. Everyone needs a special space to be creative.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
The other thing I like about what you're doing with these youth is that you're providing them an opportunity to give back. And I don't think there's any substitution. Like, people, it's hardwired into us as humans that we want to help. We want to do something that's helpful, whatever it is. So being able to give back to the community, they get that sense, they feel like they belong to the community, they have a sense of purpose, and they're providing a service to others in the community. And in a society where everything is so materialistic, or that's kind of what's shoved down our throats, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty spectacular, really special, because you can't go to a store and buy that feeling of volunteering or giving of yourself or helping somebody. That's the best feeling in the world.
And have that sense that you're giving to something bigger than yourself. I mean, that's so important that we need
contributing.
to have that. Yeah.
Yeah. That everybody has, we are all one. We are one. And community isn't just out the front door.
Right.
We have community, just us three sitting here. And I realized that from teaching too, that, you know, as soon as a kid has a buy-in, that they're included, they get to be part, or they get to help. And teaching that at a younger and younger age. My granddaughter's hilarious because we would be in a park playing and she'd turn around and she'd wave at every car that went by. And I'm like, I didn't realize what she was doing. And it's just like, she's like, I want to say hi.
Right.
I want to see that person over there and that person over there. And I'm like, bam, perfect. You know, more kids need to feel included.
Yeah.
You know, like they matter.
And it seems like the younger generation that's coming to adulthood now, they're really involved and they're really conscious of where we're going as a global community or in their neighborhoods, and not afraid to stand up. Like, and I think in my generation, I think we're about the same age. I don't think I felt like like standing up. And I think the 60s was another, obviously with the turmoil of the civil rights movement in Vietnam, I think there was a lot of activism and stuff like that. But I think it kind of waned a little, and it seems like it's moving up. And maybe it's just the times we live in and some of the things that are happening in our communities that they're like, enough is enough.
I think this new generation, these kids, they feel like they actually have a voice, and that they're able to speak their minds and that it's taken seriously. I also think that they're way more accepting than previous generations in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think they're listening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen kids that I've worked with that were pretty close-minded in the beginning, and then as we work along as a group, as our community, and they realize that their opinion matters, and that they get enlightened, that they actually matter, and that they can play, they can be part of what's going on in the world instead of being an outsider. And that's what's important. I really think so. A lot. Like a lot of my students, I know a lot of kids that are recluse, and they pride themselves in being recluse, but they're really alone and they're really sad. And then like this kind of program goes, hey, you want to play with us? Let's go. We're going to feed you. Let's go. What do you think about that? We can disagree. We don't care.
Well, and that's an important thing right there.
Right.
I think that in this modern age, we've gotten away from being able to talk things out and debate things, and being able to agree to disagree. Like, okay, I hear what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I respect that, and just having that respect amongst your peers, even if you're not into that or you don't agree with it. Right. But that's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right to disagree.
Right.
Not everybody's going to get along all the time, but it's being able to find that common ground and giving them those tools
and learn how to speak it. But
maybe. how to speak it, how to articulate it.
Right, in a friendly way, but even leave yourself open and available to learn and grow and go, oh, you changed my mind.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's what I always say.
I didn't see it that way. Oh, okay.
Yeah, interesting. I like that. I like that idea. I never thought of it that way.
Right.
Yeah, you've changed me. What a great idea. It's all about possibility.
It is.
It is.
Possibility and creativity.
That's right.
And it's endless, You just got to get yourself out there, and like you do, not afraid. Put yourself out there a little bit. Yeah. Take some chances.
Yeah. What are you going to lose? You're not going to die.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you fall face first in the levee, then maybe you might die.
Yeah, you might.
Thank God for that little finger hole that you put your thumb in.
Yeah, really. That taught me. That taught me.
I could die doing this, but heck with it. Let's face it anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, being out on that levee, I painted many times by myself.
Yeah.
And I like that the best. And it was like being on the top of a mountain.
Yeah, and this might be overstating it, but I would imagine if you're out there by yourself and you're painting something that obviously is meaningful, this might be kind of corny, but almost a spiritual kind of experience.
It's like being in the zone.
Yeah.
It's in the zone because you are like you're part of that wall. You're part of what's happening there, and there's no one dictating what you're going to do, in the moment. Like you got to have strategy before you get out there. But when you get out there, it's kind of like, it's almost like there were times where I almost left my body because I had to see what I was doing and step back, and think about what's the easiest thing to do. And then I came up with the system where I pretend like I had eyes on the tip of my shoes. Because there were plenty of times I wasn't looking where I was walking.
Right.
And I would trip over. They started putting tar out there. And then dirt would get behind the tar. So you got to go out there and kind of wire brush, pull the tar off, or paint the tar and hope you don't step on it and it breaks off. So just you become so self-aware with your whole body.
Right.
But being in nature, my God, it's the best.
Right. Yeah,
it's the best.
So I think we'll wrap this up. If people want to be part of this process, doing a mural on the levee, how do they go about it? Is there a website? Can they contact you? What should they do?
They can go a variety of ways. On Facebook, we have a Pueblo Levee Mural Project Facebook page that I give updates on what we're doing.
Okay.
And then also you can go to pueblolevee.org, and there's a call for artists there with an application and the guidelines. We might be updating it pretty soon. We found that a lot of the artists needed a narrative with their work, so it made more sense to everybody. But you'll either get the old application or you get the new one. There is no deadlines. We actually will look at applications in the middle of each month, notify artists within 2 weeks. This is a really bad time of the year to paint because with brand new concrete, it's really sealed, and if it's cold, it's not going to accept your paint.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, like March till about the end of June is a good time. July is not a good time unless you want to work on your tan or your burn. But, I've painted year round. So, you can always ask questions. I'm willing to give people ideas, come up with resources, and even come down here and walk that wall, and we can go test it because I haven't been on the new wall myself. I understand it's like an ice rink.
Oh, wow.
Because they sealed it, and they actually did some kind of acid treatment on it, just to kind of make it stay stable. So, but a 45-degree angle, some really good boots. You want to support your ankles. You don't need to repel. There are people that are repelling when, they start. We've got ropes that you can rent. We've got paint stores that'll give you a deal on paint. And we even got it authorized if you get your main surface painted with brand new paint, that we have a major paint recycle here. And you can go get your paint for almost nothing.
Excellent. And all the different work that you do, and as an educator and as a consultant, if people want to reach out to you because they have a project and they need help with.
Great.
And they want to pay you.
And
oh, really?
How would they get a hold of you? How would they contact you so that they could discuss a project that they might want you to help out with?
I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I can be reached there anytime.
Is there an email or anything you'd like to?
What's the Facebook page? What's it called?
Cynthia Ramu.
Okay.
I also have another page where I'm trying to get painters around the state to join, like a member.
Okay.
There's no fee, but it's Pueblo Levee Mural Painters. And where I also put updates. Same updates will go from both pages, but this one might be more specific to artists. Contact me on the Levee page, my page.
Okay.
My email is cynthanie77@gmail.
Awesome.
And so, yeah.
And we'll put links on the podcast. So
Yeah,
you can
so
probably Google me and find me for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everyone
She'll
else
come
does.
right up.
Yeah.
Any other projects before we sign off here that you want to talk about, or any other things that you think are pertinent that we didn't discuss that you would like people to know about? Because I know you have your hands in a lot. You have a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at a grant. We're looking at a really big grant that's coming up pretty soon here. That's almost like mural painting, but it's on asphalt. And so the Arts Alliance is looking at it. I'm looking at it with a lot of artists. I've seen where people do it like performance art, where you video it. And there are people around the world that do this too, where they watch for the satellites. When the satellites are in certain locations, get 100 people, paint a whole area, and you watch it transform. So, I'm kind of excited to figure out if we can get this grant and do it in Pueblo. And I want to get teens together. Teens need to be active and be part of as much of the art that happens in the community. So, yeah, I don't limit what I do. I
know you have so many different things that you do. I mean, that's what I love about you, is that you always got something going on, and it's always exciting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's exciting, and it's a little dangerous at times,
Sure.
but
But your middle name is Danger.
it is
Cynthia Danger.
dangerously. So yeah. No, it's all possibility. I think I'm just excited that there's always something new coming up, and I might even just pass this on to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning to like have an idea and share it and see what somebody else is going to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to own it anymore.
Right.
But I'm willing to stick to my guns for that levee. So whatever it takes, we are going to get it going.
Well, we love
need
what
more
you're
artists too.
Right. We love what you're doing. We love the community.
Yeah.
Pueblo's a great little community. And so we're happy with what you're doing
Well,
and
thank you.
encouraging.
Yes.
So
Everyone come to Pueblo. Come visit. We'll find you a place to stay.
that's right.
And it would be nice maybe at the either the middle or the end of next summer to check in with you again
Yeah.
and talk about what's been going on since this time sitting down with you. So maybe we can arrange that if you're open to it, and
Yeah.
we can talk about the goings on and any other projects that are starting to happen or
Okay.
that you have.
I'm sure there'll be something.
Oh,
We
I know
might
there
have
will be.
aliens here painting with lasers. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
Now that's a whole other story. We were going to do that too, with glow in the dark paint. Mysteriously have it happen.
Well, they got that UFO platform
observation
over by the Great
Yeah.
Sand Dunes.
Yep.
So anyway,
Oh,
because
really? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so I think there's a corridor here for aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Aliens are welcome in Pueblo as well.
Yeah.
Bring paint. Paint your mural.
Yeah.
Leave your likeness behind.
Exactly.
Cynthia, thank you so much. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
That concludes this episode of the Tenet Podcast.
Yay.